Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like there's no stopping them anytime soon. And if there is, it's definitely not the Cowboys that's going to do it. They do not seem to have the answer. Kyle Shanahan had Dan Quinn in a blender, and Steve Wilkes had them in a blender too. That the way they schemed that up and the way their coaches looked, Mike McCarthy in his press conference, he looked so defeated. He was like, he said that it was a worse loss than the Arizona Cardinals, which kind of makes
Mm-hmm.
sense because, like, going into that, they probably told themselves, oh, well, we didn't really get up for this game. We didn't really prepare. He said, like, he was like, we thought we had a good game plan. Like, we thought we were prepared to show up. So
Like they
that
actually
sucks
tried for
for
this game and it
them.
was a 32-point loss. That's freaking demoralizing. Like that's why I said that same thing about the Cardinals game. It's like, they probably overlooked them, and then Trayvon Diggs tearing his Achilles or his ACL, whichever it was. That's like when you're just days out, that's just really just takes the wind out of you as like a teammate. And it's like, dude, what the hell did we just happen? And then for this game, because they were chirping all day. You said Jerry Jones did that. Who else was doing? Point is, several players were talking about that, right? They were just chirping or just setting themselves up or getting ready, and then they just came in. I mean, it was supposed to be a good game, and it just wasn't. Now, was it a case of the Cowboys aren't that good, or was it just something that the Niners were doing?
That's an interesting question. I want to ask if you think currently the 49ers, they're 5-0. They've won 14 straight regular season game wins. They look more dominant than any team I've seen so far. Currently, the only other undefeated team is the Eagles. Going into this game, this was supposed to be a test for the 49ers to see how they would fare, see, okay, are these other games a fluke? Maybe the competition wasn't as equal. Supposedly coming into this game, the Cowboys were going to be that test for the 49ers. And if that was I mean, the Rams game was closer than that. So I don't know if we're leaving this being like the Cowboys aren't good or the 49ers keep getting better as the season goes on. They have few weaknesses, or they have limited weaknesses, and as the games have gone on, seems like they have less and less. Do you think it's too soon? Only 5 games in, but just watching them and how they look when they're going against all the different varieties of teams, good defenses, good offenses. Do you think the 49ers are the best team in the NFL right now?
Yeah, right now they definitely are. It's kind of hard to look out anywhere else and be like, okay, maybe it's the Chiefs. No, it's not them. Maybe it's the Eagles. No, it's not them. I mean, the Eagles is probably the closest case you can make, but even then, I don't see them. They're not really like, I feel like there's a lot left to be had with the Eagles right now, and they're not clicking all cylinders. So the 49ers are the best team in the NFL right now, but that doesn't mean jack because they need to be the best team in the NFL later. Not saying that this is all wasted and who knows if they'll be able to sustain this. I personally think they do because that's pretty much been the machine every freaking year with these guys. And when you have now you have Brock Purdy in the fold who's optimizing the offense, Christian McCaffrey going off. It's just, you mentioned like this was their first real test. And I thought I bought into the same thing. Like, hey, this is the first real test because who have they really played? But in that same breath, it's like using that against the 49ers, like who have they really played? They play weak opponents. Yeah, it's true, but all of a sudden we're going to take away those wins because they look the part. They beat those teams pretty convincingly and easily. So of course, so good, look the part. Because if it was a close game and they won, we'd be giving them a lot of slack. So now you go up against a first real test, right? The Cowboys, who are the premier team, one of the premier teams in the NFC. You host them and you make them look like that. That wasn't a bad Cowboys game. That's just, no, you were just that damn good. So Jerry Jones, that's the measuring stick. Here's the 49ers. I can't reach as lower than this, but it's lower than what my arm can reach right now is what the Cowboys are. It's just crazy. They're not even top 3 anymore. It's easily Niners, Eagles, Lions, Gap, and then it's Cowboys. So Niners, best team in the NFC and NFL. Now it's just about them really sustaining it.
I agree. When I look at this, I feel like I come away with both conclusions. I think only 5 games in, but right now the 49ers look like the most dominant team in the league, just both sides of the ball coming in. We'll get into this later, but we had maybe I had a few questions about the defense going into this game. I feel like they heard that, they showed out. This offense, I mean, scoring 30 or more points in 9 straight games, scoring above 40 in basically 3 quarters because they stopped trying. Like, they could have
Yeah.
scored 50 if they would have kept their players in. So I came away thinking, yes, the 49ers are leading the league in the talent and success and just as like a unit right now. But I also came away being like, I think if we would have played, or if the 49ers would have played the Lions, it could have been a closer game. Like it made me
Mhm.
really really look at the Cowboys differently, which is hard because we were just saying like coming into this game, one of the reasons that people thought the Cowboys were good was because they had beat up on their competition. And I heard some pushback kind of being like, well, their competition hasn't been good. But that was kind of the same thing for the Niners. Like going into this game, it was like, okay, this game is going to be a big deal because, yeah, they've beat these other teams and they've looked so dominant against these other teams. But how are they going to fare against a team that, should be similar competition? And if this game was a question mark for that, I think we learned two lessons. One, the Niners, what they're doing is not a fluke. They're legit, and the Cowboys are complete frauds. And it would suck to be their fans because you just know that you're going to go to the playoffs and go right home.
And then
If they get to the playoffs. But.
yeah, right. Like, did you see the meme of the fan who's on the phone at the game? He's just like the memes that have been said about that guy is just endless. I feel bad for him, but it's like the team sucks. It's just I was talking about this with the friend. I was like, just imagine being a Cowboys fan, or not even just a Cowboys fan. Like just plenty of teams like Cowboys, Dodgers, Yankees. You do all this good. You have all this talent. Your regular season is phenomenal, but every year it's the same thing. Flame out in the playoffs. I know that's still far ways away, but I'm pretty sure the Cowboys are going to flame out the playoffs if they make the playoffs. They're going to flame out in the playoffs. And it's like, how can you even get yourself up as a fan to keep rooting for them? I'm not saying that don't be a fan, but it's like, yeah, I'll watch, I'll root for them. But it's like, until you guys make the NFC Championship game, wake me up. But that would be just me. But, it's also the reason why this game was going to be closer is because how it was in that playoff game, right? It was such a defensive juggernaut. It was crazy. It was the closest game the 49ers had played in a win in probably the last two seasons. I wouldn't even count the Eagles game, but yeah, I would say that was the one I was like, oh God, where's this going? And this one, they just completely just like, well, what the hell? Look at him. Look at Brock Purdy. Look at all this stuff. It's like, and that was the first real game where Brock Purdy really got off his high horse. Not saying, he was arrogant or anything, but that was when it kind of took him off that high, that electricity he was on. He was pressured. I think the stat was like 55, 60% of the time. And even though he was getting really disrupted that game, he still could come back firing. And now you come in this game against practically the same looking defense, which is easily a top 5 defense, and you just route them. That's insane. Then to me, it's like, the 49ers had a good game plan. Everything fits so perfectly well with everyone. Everything balances. Everything's a good fit. It's literally like the piece to a puzzle. It's like we're not struggling to find everything in this little jigsaw where everything's at. It's like, no, here's the piece. This one goes in, and that's the 49ers offense. They're just clicking so perfectly, and it's like everyone wants to dumb down like, oh, 49ers, weak opponents. Oh, okay, maybe the Cowboys aren't really that good. It's like, you know what? Maybe they really aren't that good, but the 49ers definitely played a part in making them not look that good. Yeah. And that's something you can't take away. And I would expect that against the Browns next week, who also has a premier defense.
I completely agree. I feel like I'm not going to pick them to score less than 30 points until they show me that they're going to score